Hola YouTube on this sunny Sunday afternoon. Thank God. The end of the season is here. The Leafs were in Montreal last night to play the Habs in what was a pretty boisterous affair. The Habs had been eliminated already. I was hoping the Leafs could do it, but they already, with a loss they had on the weekend and a Columbus win or whatever, Columbus sneaked into the last spot. I hate them almost as much as the Habs anyway, so I hope they get crushed by the Lightning, but that's neither here nor there. But it was a pretty boisterous affair. The crowd was into it. It was Bob Cole's last regular season game of his career. He's retiring, that's growing up. Him and Harry Neal calling games. Those are the two voices I remember from my childhood and in through high school and stuff. That was my kind of imprint on hockey broadcasting. They got some great guys now, like Jim Houston and Craig Simpson, the new guys on CBC on Saturday nights. They're great, but it was Bob and Harry that I grew up and really relate to, and that's who in my head I hear when I think of hockey games being called. So that was cool to see. Last game of his career is Habs and Leafs on a Saturday night. Like it couldn't be any more fitting. But it was wild. It was a run and gun back and forth kind of affair. I think the Habs pretty much had their full lineup, other than they started their backup Charlie Lindgren in net, and Price got the night off. But it was just it turned into a wild game. It was the Leafs went up 2-1 after the first, and then it was 4-4 after the second, and then it was 5-5 after the third. Overtime didn't solve anything, so then they had to go to shootout, and the first three shooters didn't decide it, so they had to go to extra shooters, and that's where it finally ended. And the Leafs ended up falling 6-5, but it was crazy. It was crazy. Despite them losing, it was. I'm not reading much into it. It was one of those games where, I knew Jake Muzzin wasn't going to be playing on defense because he's still suffering from food poisoning or something. But as the game kind of unwound, I was like, oh, I don't see Dermott out there. And then it was like, I don't see Hainsey. So they had three other regular defensemen out, and there are three other depth guys in. So, if they'd had those three regulars in the lineup, would the game have gone to a shootout at 6-5? No, probably not. So I'm not worrying about it too much in that regard. And the good thing, too, is that of the 5 goals the Leafs scored, it was mostly by guys who really needed to score. Hyman opened it and got his 21st of the season, which was great. And then after that, Gardner got his first since being back after a long layoff for injury, so that was good to get him on the board. And then after that, it was who scored? Kapanen scored. Kapanen scored their 5th goal. Nylander scored. Both of those guys needed to score. They'd gone a long time without scoring. And then Trevor Moore on the 4th line got one as well. And he hadn't scored in a while either. So it was all guys that really needed to score. Got the goals. And the other guys that didn't score, they're big guns like Tavares, Marner, and especially Matthews. They were hopping all night and had lots of chances. They just couldn't get them to go. So overall, despite the 6-5 shootout loss, there was lots of encouraging signs. Of course, there were some non-encouraging signs, like the turnovers were lots of lazy, half-assed kind of plays, especially in their own zone, and they just coughed the puck up, which led to a lot of scoring chances and even a goal or two in some cases. So, and then the start was good, though, so that's one thing that they keep improving on. So overall, it was not a bad game for the last game of the year with some guys out and that sort of thing. So the playoff schedule has been determined, and they open in Boston on Thursday. So they've got a good little layoff, 4 or 5 days there where they can kind of continue to get some guys rested and back into shape, work out some kinks in practice. And the keys against Boston, in my opinion, are their team speed. They really need to be fast, and they really need to be playing together. You can have a bunch of fast guys out there, but if they're not on the same page and they're not hitting each other on the tape with passes and they're not anticipating where they're going to be, and it doesn't matter. So, and we saw a lot of that early in the year when their power play was clicking and they were scoring tons of goals and limiting the opposition to fewer goals. It was a team attack. It wasn't just one or two guys that looked good on any given line and the rest were kind of unnoticeable. It was the full team pushing, and that's what they need to do against Boston. And if they don't have a chance, because Boston will just push them around and take the puck and take their turnovers and counterattack. So they really need that. They also really need to keep improving on their starts, because you can't go down in a playoff game early on a regular basis and expect that you're going to win the series, especially against a physically demanding team like Boston, who will wear you down over the game and over the series, and especially when you're in Boston, which is a pretty hostile rink to play in. So they really need to keep, and it's been encouraging. Their starts have been a lot better recently, so they just need to keep improving on that and make sure they don't give up that early damage. And then the other thing is just the turnovers. They need to be hard on the puck, not be casual. If you need to just put it off the boards and regroup and try again, so be it. Don't try and make a cute pass up the middle that's got a low probability of working when you can just hammer it up the boards. So this is all routine stuff that they should know by now, but they continue to make these mistakes, and they just need to quit it. So hopefully they can. Nobody's given them a chance in this series. I believe they can beat Boston pretty handily if they do these things, because I think they have a clear advantage in net. Rask is good. He's been a really good goalie, but I think he's aging and he's not as good as he used to be, whereas Anderson, when he's playing his best, is he can almost be unbeatable at times. So now, whether he's going to play like that, there's been some encouraging signs lately that he's getting back to his normal form. Giving up the 5 plus the shootout last night I'm not too worried about that, because all the goals they scored on him were pretty much, he had no chance on. So I'm not too worried about that. But the team's just got to play better in front of them, especially the defense and the play in their own zone. So I believe they can easily beat Boston. But on the other hand, I believe if they don't play the way they need to against Boston, they can be ousted very quickly and very easily as well. So I think they'll embrace the underdog role. I think they're better in that role. We'll see what happens. But I've got my fingers crossed. I'm one of the only believers of my friends and family right now that everybody seems to be doom and gloom about the way they've been playing lately and that they stand no chance. But I always believe in the postseason. That the regular season is just to make it in, and as soon as that last game is played and you're in, push the reset button, and you got a new lease on life. You're going into game 1, not game 83. So we'll see if they can take that mindset and put all the troubles of the season and the inconsistency of the season behind them, and start fresh and start anew, and hopefully play more like they did at the start of the season than they did more towards the end when they hit some skids and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens, and I'll be back on Friday morning with the Thursday Game 1 report, if I'm not back earlier with a bunch of other nonsense. So until then, have a great week and a great rest of the weekend.